You ever notice how women forget most of the guys who chased them, complimented them, or tried to prove they were different? It's like none of that mattered. You gave her attention, did what you thought was right, and somehow still got forgotten. But then there's that one guy she met years ago. Maybe he didn't chase, maybe he even walked away. But she still brings his name up when she's drunk or scrolling through her memories. Why? Because certain men leave a mark. In today's world, most men are trying too hard to be remembered for things that don't work anymore. Flowers, long texts, begging for her time. Bro, she gets that 10 times a day from guys she doesn't even like. She's flooded with attention, validation, and noise. If you want to stand out, you've got to understand her psychology, not her Instagram profile. I've seen this with my clients, with men who do everything right, but end up forgotten. And then there's the guy who doesn't chase, who keeps his mystery, who flips the dynamic. That's the one she remembers. Not because he played games, but because he understood her mind. Women are emotional creatures, but they never forget the men who tap into those emotions the right way. So this video isn't about playing tricks. It's about the 5 things that make a woman never forget you. Not for a week, not for a few months. I mean years down the line, when she's with someone else and still secretly comparing him to you. Let's break it down. Because once you understand these 5 things and how they work on her psychology, you'll never be another forgettable guy again. 1. He walked away when it was hard to do. So there's a moment every man faces in a relationship, or even while chasing a woman, when he knows deep down she's not giving him what he deserves. Maybe she's breadcrumbing him. Maybe she's keeping him around as an option. Maybe she's just too used to attention. And yet, he stays. Most men do. They stay because they're scared to lose her, scared to be alone, or scared to start over. But the man she never forgets? He's the one who walked away while he still wanted her. Let that sink in. Walking away when it's easy doesn't leave a mark. But walking away when every part of you still wants to stay, that takes control. That takes discipline. That takes a deep understanding that your self-respect is worth more than temporary attention or fake affection. It's like that scene in Creed, when Adonis gets knocked down, but doesn't stay down. Not because he isn't hurt, but because he knows who he is. You've got to know who you are. You've got to be the man who doesn't beg for love. The man who says, if this doesn't serve me, I'll leave, even if I still care. Women are emotional creatures. And here's the secret. Nothing stings her more than a man who walks away without drama. No insults, no games, no guilt tripping, just calm distance. That's what echoes in her head. That's the guy she remembers. Because he left when she still had a grip on his heart, and he chose self-respect instead of being another option. Think about your own life. You probably remember the moments you chose yourself over comfort, the job you quit, the friend you cut off, the weight you lost. Why? Because those were growth decisions. This is no different. When a man walks away from a woman who doesn't value him, he earns a spot in her mind she'll never erase. Not because he made her feel guilty, but because he did something most men can't do. He became rare, uncommon, and whether she admits it or not, she felt it. And the craziest part? She might not even understand why she keeps thinking about him. But she will, even years later. Because emotional imprints aren't made by constant presence. They're made by unforgettable exits. Walking away is not weakness. It's one of the most powerful things you can ever do as a man. Especially in today's world, where men are conditioned to chase validation. You want to be remembered. Learn when to leave, even when your heart wants to stay. 2. He made her earn his attention. In today's dating world, attention is cheap, but your attention shouldn't be. You want to know what makes a man unforgettable? He's the one who doesn't give it away for free. He's not throwing compliments every hour. He's not watching every story she posts. He's not reacting to her beauty like it's the greatest thing he's ever seen. Nah, he's the one who makes her earn it. Most guys think the way to a woman's heart is by flooding her with validation. That used to work, maybe back in 2005. But now, A woman can post a blurry selfie and get 50 guys in her DMs telling her she's stunning. So, what separates you? Silence? Standards? Selective energy? When a woman feels like she has to work for your attention, it changes the dynamic. You're no longer one of the thousands trying to win her over. You become the guy she's curious about, the one who didn't immediately fold, the one who doesn't bite the bait. It's just like in sports. Think about it. When a championship ring is handed to someone without effort, it means nothing. But when a player fights, trains, and earns it, that ring becomes priceless. That's how a woman sees your attention when you don't hand it over easily. When she has to show she's worth it. When she has to prove she deserves access to your world. Now, I'm not saying be cold or distant. I'm saying be intentional. Be unpredictable. Don't like every post. Don't text all day. Don't reply instantly. When she tells you something, listen, but don't reward her every move with applause. Save your validation for when it actually means something. Here's what happens when you make a woman earn your attention. She invests. And once a woman starts investing emotionally, she becomes attached. That's when the game flips. Because most women are used to being pursued. They're not used to doing the pursuing. The unforgettable man is the one who doesn't immediately make her feel like she's won just by showing up. He's the man who carries himself like he's the prize. Because he is. He's got purpose, vision, goals, and peace. He's not impressed by beauty alone. He's impressed by depth, loyalty, and consistency. And a woman can feel that. So many men don't get this. They're too busy trying to prove they're a good guy. But women don't chase nice. They chase impact. They chase the guy who treats his attention like currency, not a charity. The man she never forgets is the one who knew his value and acted like it. He didn't give his attention away like candy. He made her want it. And when she finally got it, it meant something. Be that guy. Not cold, not rude, just rare. When you make a woman earn your attention, she'll never forget how it felt to finally get it. 3. He made her feel safe without being soft. There's a major difference between a man who's soft and a man who's solid. A soft man bends to please. A solid man protects, leads, and reassures without needing to beg. In a world full of fake confidence and loud distractions, the man a woman never forgets is the one who gave her something deeper, emotional safety. But here's the twist. Women don't feel safe with men who worship them. They feel safe with men who are in control of themselves, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. You want to leave a lasting imprint on a woman's mind? Be the man who doesn't flinch under pressure. Be the one who stays calm when she's in chaos. Be the rock in the storm. She may not say it out loud, but when she can break down in front of you and not feel judged, you've entered a space most men will never access. That's not softness. That's strength in disguise. Women test men, not because they want weak ones to pass, but because they want to see who won't break. So when you hold your ground with her, with life, with your mission, she watches. And when you don't lose yourself to her beauty, her emotions, or her games, she feels something rare. Stability. Think about your favorite movie heroes. Jason Bourne, Maximus in Gladiator, even modern characters like Tommy from Peaky Blinders. They're not over-explaining themselves. They're not emotional wrecks. But they're safe. Not because they say it, but because they are it. Calm in conflict, focused, stoic, but aware. When you can look a woman in the eye and say, "I've got this," and she believes you without question, that's unforgettable. Because most guys panic. They overreact. They crumble the minute things go wrong. You want to leave a legacy in her heart? Be the man who made her feel like nothing could touch her when she was with you. Even if you two don't work out, that feeling will stay with her for life. Now don't confuse this with being emotionally unavailable. Real safety isn't cold. It's warm, but firm. It's saying, "You're allowed to be vulnerable here, but I'm still going to lead." That balance is deadly attractive. It's masculine. It's timeless. And it's something women crave in silence. So many men try to be lovable by being soft. But softness doesn't make her feel protected. It makes her feel like she has to lead. And when a woman has to lead, she eventually resents you. even if she doesn't say it. Be the guy who listens without losing control, who supports without sacrificing your spine. That's the kind of man who doesn't need to force loyalty, because women will give it freely. In the end, she won't remember what you said or even what you did. She'll remember how safe it felt to be around you, and that's something she can't recreate with just anyone. 4. He never let her distract him from his purpose. You ever meet a man who gets into a relationship and suddenly everything about him changes? He stops going to the gym, loses focus on his business, stops hanging out with his boys, and starts planning his entire life around a woman. Sounds romantic, right? Until she loses respect for him and leaves. Why? Because he made her the center of his world. And in doing that, he lost himself. Let's be clear. No woman ever forgets the man who stayed locked in on his mission. The one who didn't let her become his full-time job. The man who loved her, cared for her, but never put her above his purpose. Because women are naturally drawn to men with direction. It's in their biology. They crave the feeling of being with a man who is going somewhere. In today's world, distraction is everywhere. Social media, dating apps, parties, DMs, it's non-stop. And when a woman sees a man who can stay grounded, who can say no to the noise and still keep building, that's powerful. It triggers something deep in her psychology. It tells her, this man doesn't need me to be complete. He chooses me, but he doesn't depend on me. Look at legends. Kobe Bryant, Cristiano Ronaldo, Elon Musk. Whether you like them or not, there's one thing women and men respect about them. Focus. Even in love, they don't fold. They don't put their dreams on pause. And that level of self-discipline becomes magnetic. It demands respect, because purpose is attractive, and consistency is unforgettable. You ever watch a woman watch a man on stage, or a man leading a team, or a man giving a speech with fire in his voice? She's not just looking at his face. She's watching his passion. That's what moves her. That's what sticks in her mind. It's not the compliments or the roses. It's the energy of a man who's fully alive in his element. But when you lose that, when you dim your fire just to keep her happy, she starts to wonder if you were ever that guy to begin with. And deep down, she starts searching for the man who reminds her of you before you changed. That's how men get forgotten. When they stop being who they were, when she first felt drawn to them. So here's the truth. If you want to be unforgettable, never make her your mission. Make her part of the journey, but not the destination. Let her see you win, build, and lead. Let her watch you make sacrifices and come out stronger. And if she's the right one, she'll ride with you. If not, she'll walk, and you'll keep walking anyway. Because the man who never lets a woman distract him from his purpose, that's the man she can't replace. Not because he made her the center of his universe, but because he never stopped being the man she was drawn to in the first place. 5. He left her better than he found her. Most men enter a woman's life trying to impress her, sleep with her, or just get something out of her. That's why they get forgotten, because they took more than they gave. But the man she never forgets, he's the one who left her life better than he found it. Even if they didn't end up together. Even if it was temporary. She remembers him because he added value to her life in a way no one else did. This isn't about buying her gifts or playing savior. It's about impact. Did you challenge her? Did you teach her something? Did you push her to face herself, elevate her standards, and grow? That's the kind of man that stays in her mind forever. Not the one who entertained her, but the one who elevated her. Think about movies like Good Will Hunting. Will had raw talent, but was stuck in his own pain. It took someone who saw his potential, who called him out, pushed him, supported him without enabling, to wake him up. That's what unforgettable men do. They don't just make a woman feel good, they make her grow. A woman might be physically attracted to a man, but what really lingers in her heart is the memory of who she became because of him. Maybe she started reading more. Maybe she learned to respect herself more. Maybe she developed higher standards. And even if she ends up with someone else, that transformation will always trace back to you. You've got to ask yourself, when she looks back at the version of herself that existed when you two met, is she stronger now, smarter, wiser, more focused? If the answer is yes, then trust me, you're unforgettable. Not because you were perfect, but because you were different. And don't get it twisted. Being that kind of man doesn't mean you were soft or a pushover. It means you were a mirror. You reflected truth back at her. You didn't tolerate her excuses. You didn't encourage her toxicity. You helped her face her fears. That's rare. That's powerful. And that hurts when it's gone. There's a reason women sometimes message a man years later just to say, "Thank you," or "You really changed my life." That's not just nostalgia. That's the lingering effect of a man who left a positive mark on her soul, even if he didn't stay forever. Too many men only think about what they can get from women. But unforgettable men focus on what they can leave behind. Not for validation, but because that's who they are. Leaders, builders, men who leave legacies, not scars. So remember this: the man who leaves a woman better than he found her is a man she'll measure every other man against. Because deep down, she knows. Most men just wanted her time. You gave her transformation. 6. He wasn't afraid to show his standards. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most men lower their standards just to keep a woman around. They'll ignore red flags, overlook bad behavior, tolerate disrespect, just because she's beautiful or he's afraid of being alone. And what happens? She loses respect for him. She forgets him. Because when a man doesn't respect himself, a woman never will. But the man she remembers, he was different. He wasn't afraid to say, "This is what I expect. This is what I don't tolerate. And if that doesn't work for you, that's fine. But I'm out." That kind of backbone is rare, and it stings in her memory. Women don't want a doormat. They want a mirror, a man whose standards reflect his value. And not just standards in how she treats him, but in how he lives, how he speaks, how he moves, what he allows in his space. That kind of energy sets him apart. It separates him from the crowd of men constantly adjusting themselves just to fit into her world. Look at men like Tony Stark in Iron Man. Confident, direct, unshaken by opinion. He wasn't bending over backward to be liked. He knew who he was. And whether people loved him or hated him, he didn't flinch. That's what unforgettable men do. They draw lines. They speak with clarity. And most importantly, they follow through. Now listen, having standards doesn't mean being arrogant or controlling. It means knowing your worth so deeply that you're willing to walk away from anything or anyone that doesn't match it. That's where true masculine power lies. Not in dominance, but in discipline. You might think being firm with a woman will push her away. But here's the twist. It actually pulls her in, because most women are surrounded by weak men who say yes to everything. So when a man finally comes along, who holds her accountable, who checks her when she's off, who doesn't laugh at her disrespect or ignore her bad attitude, she may get mad at first, but she'll remember him. Why? Because she knows deep down that he's not easy to replace. Women remember men who held them to a higher standard, even when they resisted it. Because in the long run, those are the men who made them better. You've got to stop being scared to demand more. Don't be afraid to say, "I don't do women who disrespect men," or "I'm not giving my time to someone who's half in, half out." When you speak like that, and mean it, you make her think, you make her choose. And even if she walks away, you stay whole. That's what haunts her later. When she's with a man who accepts anything, she'll think about the one who didn't, the one who had standards, the one who wouldn't fold. Because when a man isn't afraid to draw the line, he doesn't just protect his peace, he earns her respect. And that kind of man, she never forgets. 7. He stayed a mystery she could never fully solve. Every woman has had that one man who stayed on her mind, not because he gave her everything, but because she never quite figured him out. He was present, real, and consistent, but he didn't spill every detail of his life in the first week. He didn't pour out his emotions like a journal entry. He didn't beg for validation or try to convince her he was the one. He let her wonder. He made her think. That's the man she remembers. Modern men are losing this art. Everyone's oversharing, overposting, and trying way too hard to be open. But mystery is power. The less she knows about you, the more she wants to know. The more she imagines, the more invested she becomes. When you hold back just enough, without playing childish games, you become an emotional puzzle. And women love puzzles. Think about James Bond, smooth, calm, focused. He's never too loud, never too revealing, never too predictable. And because of that, women lean in. They watch his body language. They listen closely to his words. They hang on to moments because he doesn't flood them with too much. He gives just enough to spark curiosity, but not enough to fully satisfy it. You want to know why this works? Because once a woman feels like she knows everything about you, the excitement fades. It becomes routine, predictable. But when she's still figuring you out, when she's replaying conversations trying to catch what you really meant, she's hooked. Emotionally, mentally, even spiritually. Now, being mysterious doesn't mean you lie or play games. It means you keep certain parts of your life sacred. You don't always answer every call. You don't explain every move. You don't tell her your whole life story on the third date. You give her real moments, but you don't serve your soul on a silver platter just to be liked. Some men think vulnerability means spilling everything. No, it means being real without being reckless. You can be open without being transparent. You can be emotionally available without being emotionally exposed. Remember this: women crave adventure. They love the feeling of unfolding a new chapter with a man. But if you give her the whole book in one night, where's the thrill? Where's the mystery? Where's the tension that keeps her thinking about you when you're not around? Unforgettable men know how to leave a trail, not a full map. They speak with intention. They reveal in doses. They show enough emotion to create connection, but they hold enough back to maintain power. That balance? That's what haunts her memory. Because long after you're gone, she'll remember the way your presence made her feel. The questions she never got answers to. The silence that said more than words ever could. The depth she sensed but couldn't quite reach. Be the mystery she never solved. The man she still thinks about. The energy she can't find in anyone else. Because once you master mystery, you become unforgettable. In a world full of men trying too hard to be remembered, the ones who truly stay in a woman's mind are those who stand out by standing firm. The man who walks away with dignity, the one who makes her earn his presence, the protector, the builder, the mystery. He's not desperate for attention. He commands it without asking. Be that man. Because once she experiences your energy, your standards, your focus, and your depth, she'll never unfeel it. Even if she moves on, she'll carry the imprint. That's what makes you unforgettable. And that's what most men will never understand.